Hey guys, welcome back to Morning Coffee with Nate. Timing's a little bit different just because it's the weekend. Honestly, kind of got a little bit of sleep, caught up on it, did some family time, um, and went to the gym. So, gonna still get it in, update you guys, talk to you about some of the stuff that I'm thinking and going through. So, on this one, I kind of want to talk about talent, differentiated talent, and what that means and what that looks like in the real world, right? In industry and in entrepreneurship and in different things like that. And I hear a lot of folks say, like, hey, X person isn't smart enough, or they're not capable, or anything like that. And my response to that is, like, if you look at it, 99% of people, so I'm an MBA, whatever, right? And you're a high school graduate and somebody else is an MBA from like Yale. Like 99% of people are within the same makeup of IQ. So uh, most folks are very comparable in IQ across the spectrum. So there's not somebody like super smarter than you or like way dumber than you. Just broadly speaking, across the spectrum in any industry or in entrepreneurship or anything that you're doing. So what is differentiated talent, and what does that look like when you level up and say, okay, John isn't much smarter than me and Joe isn't much dumber than me, so IQ levels really don't play into why people are more talented, or why people are getting promotions, or why people are building billion-dollar businesses and why you're not. Okay, so let's start with like that level playing field. One of the things that I look at when I look at differentiated talent and what that means for me is I'm not this, super smartest guy in the room. And I don't think you ever want to be the smartest guy in the room, because you kind of like level up to where you're playing at. So if you're the smartest guy in the room and you're hanging out with people that aren't like super motivated and super smart, then you're going to go to that level. But if you're the not the smartest guy in the room and you're hanging out with Mark Zuckerberg, then you're going to go to that level. And not being the smartest guy in the room is still good, because you're smarter. You're winning compared to 98% of the population. So, but with that disregarded, and think about like, so okay, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Those are like variables, right? So what's a controllable in this science project of like life and work? And the only controllable thing that I can see is work, right? Is how much you can work compared to somebody else, how many hacks you can create to be more efficient in your work over somebody else, and how many opportunities you can create to add value in your daily life's routines, work, entrepreneurship, anything that you do over somebody else. So the first thing I would start at is you need to look to the guy to your right, and if he's exceeding expectations, or he's building a big business and he's doing it 8 hours a day, you need to figure out how to do that in 6, and then okay, start there. So once you get super efficient in what you're doing, like in a normal time period, then you need to go and get super like long on the game and start putting in more hours towards your goal, and that's how you win. So anybody that's good in any industry, I think they do their job super efficient, and they do it in 8 hours, and then they clock and they leave. And I think anyone that is super like great and they do their job super efficient, just like the guy next to them, in 8 hours, and then they put in the extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, whatever, and that's the controllable that we have in what I call differentiating talent. And there's a 10,000 hour rule out there, and the more you can compact in and get efficient, and the more time you can put in, the closer you can get to excellence in a shorter amount of time. The difficult thing about it is you don't see instant gratification, which is one of the things that millennials, we people younger really fight with, because we're so used to instant gratification and getting that. When you put in a 12-hour day or a 16-hour day and you wake up the next morning, you didn't get promoted, you didn't get a pat on the back, you got nothing out of it. So when you're biz deving or meeting or growing business or brand or whatever you're doing on the extra 4 or 6 hours after your like normal thing, then you got nothing out of the next day. And oh, by the way, you got nothing out of the next week, and you probably got nothing out of it in 6 months or a year. The thing is, it's a long game, and the more you put into it, the more you'll get out, right? And it's compounding. So 4 hours is 4 hours more work, is 4 hours more relationships, 4 hours more time with family, 4 hours more biz deving, 4 hours more continuous improvements, 4 hours more whatever, right? And that adds, and the next day it's 8, you know, and so on and so forth, week on week, month on month, year on year. And then eventually you have worked, created, had time for more relationships, more continuous improvements, more projects, more whatever, you know, 10x over next guy, like years of time at adding value and whatever you want to add value into for your self-fulfillment, to years of this time that adds after you continue to do that. So it's a compounding effect, and the difficult thing is you don't see instant gratification. So you could be putting in 12, 16-hour days every day, all week for a week or a month or 3, and you don't instantaneously see the rewards. So it kind of seems like you're not winning, but you are. And if you continue to realize that in your head, then I think that's where you get differentiated from other folks in your business or your industry or entrepreneurship or whatever you're doing. So that's kind of my take on it. Now, some people want to work 16 hours a day, some people want to work 12, some people want to work 6, some people want to retire. So it's kind of not a one size fits all thing. It kind of depends on what your self-fulfillment is. But I'm a big proponent in whatever you want to do in life and whatever your self-fulfillment is. I really think you need to be putting in the work to get to where you want to go. So that's kind of it for today. And the big concept that I would take away from this is you only get out what you put in, right? And it's inputs and outputs. And you can only take away from something what you put into something, and you can't get anything more. And one thing we'll take away from this is level up. We're all very comparable in IQ. So your talent can't beat my talent, and my talent can't beat your talent, right? So the only controllable thing that we have is how efficient and how much time and energy that we put in to where we want to go. Now, okay, so I did that, but reverse engineer that, and you have to know where you want to go, right? So I'm at the end of that game where super efficient, putting in the more hours, but the start of that game is you got to know where you want to go, or else you have a V8 engine and you're running on high octane, but you're not deploying it in the right places, right? You need to have that V8 engine. You need to be running on high octane, but you need to have the self-awareness to know what mountain you're climbing and what your self-fulfillment is at the top of the mountain, so you can deploy your energy in the proper places and you can get the most bang for your buck out of these things. So, all right, guys, next time.